I'm sure you've always wanted to be the one to deliver that speech that gets a standing ovation. However, taking yourself from this to this has always been your challenge. Worry no more, because in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 things, 5 simple things that you can start today to become the excellent communicator that you've always wanted to be. When talking about communication, it is essential to have a more holistic approach. And what do I mean? Remember whenever you had to stand up to ask a question in a class or answer a question in a class, or you probably had to give a presentation, your focus was always what you had to say. This is why a lot of the times when people have presentation, or all those times you've had presentation, you were always focused on memorizing what you had to say, knowing your slides word for word and all. But for you to be an excellent communicator, it is essential that you grow past that into having a more holistic approach towards communication. And communication involves 2 essential parts. Whenever you're communicating, there are 2 things that are actually speaking. The first is your vocals, and this is called your verbal communication. And the second is your body. Right now that I'm talking to you, though you hear my voice, my body is also talking to you. And if my body is not in synchrony with what I'm saying, for example, imagine I was talking to you right now and I was looking away, and if my body is not in synchrony with what I'm saying, you would possibly feel that there's something in the background going on that is more important to what I'm saying. This is because my body is also speaking, and that is what is called the non-verbal communication, or some people call it body language. You want to make sure that while you're working on your vocals, on what you have to say, which is your verbal communication, you're also working on your non-verbal communication, which is your body language. In this video, I'm going to share 5 C's. 5 C's that are going to help you to work on both your verbal communication and your non-verbal communication. And you want to always make sure that your verbal communication and your non-verbal communication are always in sync. Okay, let's state that very clearly here. They're always in sync, right? You want to make sure they align just like this. You don't want to have clashes like this, right? And when you are able to create a synchrony, the harmony between your verbal and your non-verbal communication, it then becomes like a dance, the dance of words. The first C we are going to be looking at is confidence. Confidence is something that cannot be overemphasized when it comes to speaking. And this is because your confidence is not just about you being aggressive or trying to force yourself to something. Your confidence is simply you saying that you deserve to be listened to. So whenever you lack confidence in your speech, what you're saying is that you do not deserve to be listened to. So everyone should as well just stand up and leave. And this is why, if you can be honest with yourself, you too find it hard to listen and to focus on someone who is speaking, but they are clearly not confident. Because when they lack confidence, they are as well telling you that, don't waste your time listening to me, I don't deserve to be listened to. That is what you show, that is what you portray when you're talking without confidence. So the question now is, how can you work on your confidence? A lot of people say, fake it until you make it, which can be applicable to some extent. But I believe that in the final analysis, it is very essential that you build your confidence over time. And in building your confidence, you have to take note, what are the things that are even eating up your confidence in the first place? Because every child being born are born with confidence, and confidence is not what you think in being aggressive or so. Confidence is basically a state where you realize that you're okay the way you are, and that mistakes are bound to happen, but you'll be fine regardless of mistakes. And this is why every child you see, they're comfortable making mistakes, they're comfortable pooing in their pants, they're comfortable eating the way they love, playing about with the food, because they are just okay, they are okay the way they are comfortable in their skin and all. So every child born is born with confidence, but then as we grow, we get to start experiencing things that makes us feel we are not okay the way we are, that makes us feel we are not enough, and that reduces our self-esteem. And this in turn reduces our confidence, because now you're not comfortable the way you are. Now you're so scared of making a mistake, because you feel once you've made a mistake, you'll probably be laughed at or be removed from a group or something, and or you'd lose some friends and things like that. So that creates an anxiety within us, because now it's dangerous to not fit in. When you can fully understand this, then you know that in speaking to a crowd of people, and it doesn't matter how many they are, it could be one or 1,000, the idea is that it's normal to make a mistake. So if in the middle of your speech you make a mistake, you can simply continue. A lot of the times, people would not even notice your mistake until you draw their attention to it. And for you to properly understand this, I'm going to share with you a story. When I concluded my GSS3, which is your junior secondary school, it's basically high school. If you're listening not from Nigeria, it's what you call your high school. So at a certain point in my high school, we're supposed to have our graduation into our senior secondary school. So we had a party, and then there was this dancing competition, and one of our classmates at the time had to dance. At a point in her dance, her wig fell and she picked it back up, and her dance was just so good and she won, and we all gave her this standing innovation. Of course, she won for our class, so we were very excited. It was not until later that she made us understand that when her wig fell, it was actually a mistake. But the way she was so quick to just put it back on and continue, she didn't stop because her wig fell, she was not shy or anything. We all thought it was part of the dance step, we all thought it was part of her dance routine, and it was also one of the reasons why she won the dancing competition. So this is to show you that a lot of the times when you make a mistake in public, people don't even realize, they think it's part of the show until you make them realize that it is actually a mistake. A lot of people would not even know. So whenever you have to speak publicly, you need to understand that mistakes are a normal part of life. How you react to it is how people would also react to it. Let's say, for example, you were talking and you mispronounced a word. Simply continue. You don't have to be shocked and then ecstatic and you just wait there and you pause, and then everyone too is like, oh, she made a mistake. If you simply continue smoothly, nobody would even count it as a mistake and say you mispronounced a word. Or you were speaking and then your shoe unbuckled or your pen fell or something happened. If it's something you can easily just pick up and continue, pick it up and continue. If it's something you have to just say, okay, let me hand it over to the person closest to you and continue your speech, right? Nobody would notice the mistake until you bring it to them that it is a mistake that should be noticed. And even if they do notice, you can simply just say, oh, excuse me, and you continue. Oh, sorry for that, and you continue. Or if somebody caught you in the middle of your presentation, let's say it's a school seminar, and corrects you, simply say thank you and continue immediately. Don't be overcome with what they've said and then you lose your balance and you're just speechless. You want to make sure that you see every scenario as normal and be comfortable in it. Nobody is going to throw stones at you. Nobody is going to castigate you forever. They are simply basically listening to you. And I can assure you that a lot of the people listening to you are looking up to you because they themselves don't have the courage to be the ones speaking in the first place. So do well to see every scenario as normal. Mistake is a normal part of life. So if you make a mistake, continue and be comfortable in your own skin. Be comfortable in yourself. Speak the way you know how to speak, but speak it the best way possible. Practice and grow in it. And if you're not yet the best, still do well to be comfortable, because everyone is basically growing and we are all in our different phases of growth. Another thing you need to take note of in building your confidence, which is more of a mindset, is a mindset that personally I like to have, is that I am the one in charge. So whenever you have to do a public speaking, you need to know that you are the one in charge. You're the one in charge. You're the one having to stand up and speak. If you're presenting to a lecturer, maybe a school seminar or something, you just have to do a presentation, regardless of who is sitting there, as long as you're the one speaking at that point in time, you are the one in charge. So as the one in charge, you have no reason to be anxious. You have no reason to be uncomfortable because someone is there or someone is listening or someone is looking at you. You need to have that mindset that you are the one in charge. So you are the one to set what is right. You are the one to set the standard of what should be right. Put that in a full context. Let's say you prepared a speech. You want to deliver a speech towards a crowd. Now, who owns that speech? You are. You prepared the speech. So who is to say whether the speech is okay or not okay? Who is to say whether the speech is right or wrong? It is you. You are the one to say so. If you have a presentation to deliver to your lecturers, who prepared the presentation? Unless the lecturer prepared the presentation and gave it to you, that this is the presentation, these are the slides, now present it. But as long as you're the one that prepared the presentation, you prepared your slides yourself, then you are the one in charge of that presentation. You are the one in charge of what you have to say, and you're the one in charge of the standard of what you have to say. If you have a question to ask, you're the one in charge of your question. And if you have a question to answer, there are many answers to a particular question, but the one you have to say is your own, so you are in charge of it. If you are in a job interview, who is in charge of what you have to say? Who is in charge of saying whether your name is correct or wrong? Who is in charge of saying whether your bio is correct or wrong? Who is in charge of the answers to whatever question the interviewer is asking? The interviewer knows you from nowhere, so you're clearly the one in charge. So whatever scenario you have to speak, as long as the words are coming out from your mouth, then you are the one in charge of it. And if you make a mistake is a normal part of life. You carry it and you move on seamlessly. When you can fully understand this, you realize that there's really no need to be anxious. There's really no need to be uncomfortable. There is really no need. So learn to work on your confidence from the inside out. Because whether or not you like it, your confidence is going to be portrayed through your voice, what you say in your pitch. And it's going to also be expressed through your body language. And as long as you're the one to speak, if you were called upon to answer a question, as long as you're the one that was called upon, then it means you deserve to be heard. Therefore, you should speak as though you truly deserve to be heard. And if you think you don't deserve to be heard, I'm letting you know right now that you do deserve to be heard and that your voice does matter. Having fully understood this, now what would you say are the traits of a person who speaks confidently? One of the things you would notice if a person is speaking confidently is how they project their voice. Now remember that a confident person is simply someone who knows that they deserve to be listened to, right? And if you know you deserve to be listened to, then naturally you would not see the need to diminish your voice, to constrain your voice now. If you are confident, you would be comfortable projecting your voice because you feel you deserve to be heard, so you want people to hear you. So what are the ways you can learn to easily project your voice, especially if you're new to being confident? Now, one of the ways you can easily project your voice is by speaking from your diaphragm instead of your throat. And if you want to know whether or not you're speaking from your throat, all you simply have to do is to practice this vocal exercise, this voice exercise, and it's simply humming. So you want to hum. Now when you're humming, what you want to do is to put your hands on your throat, just like this, it's okay, and then you hum. Now if it's vibrating so much, it shows that your voice, your vocals is coming just from your throat, just from here, right? And in a way that constrains you, it reduces the amount of energy you put into the speech, it reduces your projection. If you want to learn to project well, you have to learn to speak from your diaphragm. And how can you exercise yourself in that? It's simple. Now that vibration that you felt here, you want to push it down as much as possible to learn to feel it from your diaphragm. So it should be coming from deep down. Your vocals, your energy to speak should be coming from deep down and not just here. And that's the difference between the person who is projecting their voice and the person who is shouting, right? As a good speaker, you want to learn how to project your voice, and it's simply you learning to speak from your diaphragm. So that vibration, you want to push it down. And another simple way to learn to do that is also learning to breathe from your diaphragm. So naturally we breathe from our chest, our thorax. So if I say take a deep breath, a lot of you will be like, now that's someone who breathes from their chest, right? When they take deep breaths, you see the rise here. Now what you want to do is when you take a deep breath, you want to push that breath into your diaphragm, as though it would feel as though you're pushing it into your stomach. So you will see the rise here. Now let's do that. Take a deep breath. Now you see the rise is no longer here, but it is here. So whenever you're taking deep breaths, you push it down. So here should be where you're seeing the rise or the swelling, and not here. So take a deep breath again. So now we're going to do it the right way. You'll see there'll be no movement here. So what you're doing when you do that is that you're learning to engage your diaphragm more. You're going to be gradually learning to engage your diaphragm, and that way it will be easier for you to start drawing strength from your diaphragm instead of your throat. So the deeper you can go, the deeper you're going to be able to draw energy from within and to be able to project your voice. So that's very essential. Another thing is also the pitch. Your pitch, you want to also work on how you pitch your voice and your tone. So you don't want to be using your bedroom voice tone and your pitch. You want to become more authoritative in a way in how you speak, and you being more authoritative is you basically exercising your authority in your voice and what you have to say. And again, that portrays that you deserve to be listened to, right? When you see people that just exercise this authority, naturally you just naturally keep quiet to want to hear what they say, as opposed to someone coming to say, yes, you should do that, of course, it's okay, compared to someone who says, of course, that's okay, yes, sure, go ahead with that. Who would you likely be more attentive to? It's the person who exercises more authority. So it's very essential that you're able to practice this, right? You have to learn to practice it. The more you practice it, the better you get at it. So learn to draw your voice more from your diaphragm instead of just hear your truth. So that's it about confidence. And then of course, your confidence is also expressed in your body language. Now, someone who is more confident naturally takes more control of their body language, in the sense that, imagine someone who is just, now I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to emulate that, but then you see those people who are just speaking and it's almost as if they are fidgeting with their whole body, right? You know, the same way you fidget with your toe. So now they're just fidgeting with their whole body, and you're wondering if the wind is just so high where they are. At the same time, you don't also want to be frozen, because there are two sides of it. Now there are those sides that are just dancing the way it goes, and then there are those that are just steady. My name is Ifebukola. Now I'm sure you know what I mean. So you don't also want to be just steady, standing at attention as though you're about to take the national anthem. And at the same time, you don't want to also be dancing as though you're some jellyfish. So it's basically the middle ground, right? It's just that balance in the middle that is the best way to go about it. So you finding that balance for yourself. If you're the type that, okay, you're the type that just frees up. So now you want to learn to be more flexible. You want to learn to ease yourself, to relax. And if you're the type that you're jellyfishing, you also want to learn to be more steady, more grounded within yourself. And you practice it. The more you practice it, the better you'll get at it. It's about time we get to the second C, and the second C is a 4-letter word called calm. Learning to be calm. Learning to be calm in a way is also associated with your confidence. It's also associated with you being steady, deep-rooted in yourself. But learning to be calm is also a way of you just taking control of the pace of your words and of your body language. For example, instead of using space fillers like like, so, and all of the space fillers you just use in between your words, when you learn to be calm, you realize the importance of taking pauses. I don't know if you've ever met those speakers that are just like, and they're just speaking, and it's almost as though they are rapping, or they're talking to themselves, or their aim of speaking is so nobody would be able to score them, so they just want to just get it done and just get out of there. Now, you don't want to be that kind of speaker. You want to be the more down to earth, the more grounded speaker rooted in yourself. And the best way to do that is also learning to be calm. Learn to be calm. Take those pauses and see just how well they help you appear more confident. And of course, you do not want to overdo it. You want to ensure that it is well balanced, because when the pause is then too long, it almost seems as though you've blanked out, right? You've forgotten everything you want to say. So you want to make sure that you take just the right amount of pause. And taking those pauses would also help you to better think as you talk. So you see those speakers that are dragging their thoughts along with their words. You see them, maybe they're looking up and they're trying to think of what they're saying. And they're like, my name is Bukola Ivie. So instead of doing something like that, think and then you talk. And those short pauses helps you to take out time to think in between your statements or in between paragraphs. You have to learn to be comfortable with just those seconds of silence or microseconds of silence, and learn to be comfortable with it. And the idea is to also understand that you don't always, okay, there's this notion that if you're the one to speak, the public speaker, you just have to be speaking. It's okay to take silence. Another way to also catch your thoughts is to throw a question. So let's say you want to think of something and you've forgotten your next line of thought. You can easily just throw an engagement, involve the crowd, ask a question, and while you're answering their question, you take that moment for yourself to be silent and to quickly remember your next line of speech or the next topic you're supposed to talk on. So be calm. It's okay to be calm as a speaker. You don't have to be aggressive, and you don't have to just keep talking because it's a public speech. It's okay to have the right amount of pauses, and you should also learn to work on it. Now, the third C is clarity. Clarity. This cannot be overemphasized. The clarity of your speech, the clarity of your voice, right? And the clarity of your body language when it comes to body language. Again, you don't want to be saying this and your body language is saying something else. You want to always make sure that your body language is in synchrony with what you're saying to create this beautiful harmony, right, to your speech. So you want to make sure that you're clear as much as possible. And clarity is basically you being able to pronounce the words completely. It's basically you being able to project yourself in the right way to make sure that you finish each statement, each wordings, pronounce them appropriately. And clarity also covers your ability to speak the language of your audience. This is where studying your audience comes into play. You want to make sure that you know your audience, you understand your audience, and then you're able to speak in their language, in a language that is clear enough for them to understand. Because there is no communication if there is no understanding. And for understanding to exist, there must be clarity. So clarity is an essential part of communication. You want to make sure that your audience can understand you. One of the essential and the key factor of an excellent communicator is their ability to make their audience understand them. So ensure to work on your clarity whenever you have to communicate. And the next C, which is the fourth, is concise. Learn to be concise, and this is where you express simplicity. Most times people feel to be this excellent communicator, you have to use big words, big grammars, big vocabularies and all, but it's not about that. Simplicity is usually key, especially if your goal is communication. If you just want to show off, maybe it's a debate and you just want to show off, then of course you can go that route, use as big vocabularies as you want. But when it comes to communication, then simplicity is the goal. Let's say you're a politician, for example. Your goal is to make sure you communicate properly so the people will understand your vision, they will understand you, and then they will key into that vision of yours. Now, how are they going to key into your vision if they can't even understand you, if you're too complex to be understood? This is where simplicity comes into place. And it's not even about the age of the person. Someone can be so old and still not understand the complexity of a speech when it is complex, of course. So this is why simplicity is very essential, especially when you want to sway people towards you, or you want to make them understand a specific ideology, vision, a concept. You want to do your best to break it down to something that they can relate with. This also covers for you learning how to break things into examples. So let's say you're explaining a complex subject or a complex term or an abstract term. Now, your ability to relate that thing to a very relatable example, to something they can associate with, to something they've experienced, makes you an excellent communicator. You have to learn to be able to simplify things as an excellent communicator. It is a key part of communication. Finally, we are down at the last C. And though the last, I can assure you, it is not the least. And this is your connection or connectivity. As a speaker, as a communicator, it is very essential that you're able to connect with those that you're speaking to. It is an ideal part of communication. You want to be able to connect. Those speeches that have left a lasting mark in you, in your consciousness, that you were so wild about, are those that you were best able to connect with. The speaker shared something that you could relate with, that you would experience. They were able to connect a part of themselves to you, and you felt so connected to that person. Have you ever listened to someone speak and you just feel, wow, she's so like me, or this is who I want to be, or oh, it was this way too, and I'm also this way, or he struggled with that too, and I'm currently struggling with that. And then you just feel so excited about that speech, you feel so connected, and you remember better what they said. Why? Because they said things that you were able to connect with. So one of the ways to connect with people, of course, is to share a story that they can connect with, that they are likely going to connect with. Another way to also connect with people is to engage them. So you want to make your communication conversational. There should be an exchange between the two parties. One simple way to make your communication conversational is by asking questions. And you want to ask simple questions that they can easily answer, respond to. You want to learn to engage them in the conversation, in the topic. Break it down as much as possible and then engage them. Ask question and expect reply. And it's also very important that in connecting with them, you maintain eye contact, like I'm looking at you right now. So do well to maintain eye contact. It is very essential, and it also goes a long way to show how confident you are. Your ability to look into the eye of the person that you're speaking to. And there is nothing to be shy about that. If you feel worthy enough to speak to someone, and you feel worthy enough that they deserve the knowledge you're also giving, they are worthy of listening to you too, then I see no reason why you should not be able to maintain eye contact, unless it is a cultural or a religious rule that you're obeying. Aside that, maintaining eye contact is very essential for communication. Eye contact helps to keep your audience, helps to keep your listener engaged, and it also helps to let them know that they are the ones you're speaking to. The very first example I gave when I said if I was looking at a different direction and I was talking to you, now picture this. So maintaining eye contact is really essential whenever you're speaking. Now you're either going to feel something else is going on at the background, or I'm talking to someone else, or I'm not sure of what I'm saying, so I'm trying to recall what I'm saying. So maintaining eye contact with you helps you to know that it is you that I'm talking to. It also helps you to feel special, which is a good feeling, because as long as I'm talking to you, you are special. So you should feel special. You feel connected to me, connected with what I have to say. So learn to maintain eye contact. And if you're someone not used to maintaining eye contact, it's essential that you know that it's going to take practice for you to get used to maintaining eye contact. And you can start learning to maintain eye contact first from simple conversations with your friends and family. A lot of the time, we actually don't maintain eye contact, even though we think we do. So learn to deliberately start maintaining eye contact. If you're talking to someone, just pick a few seconds and look into their eyes while they're talking to you, or look into their eyes while you're talking to them. And of course, you want to keep it balanced. You don't just want to be like, right? So it's good to keep it balanced. So let it come, let it flow naturally. I know if I say let it flow naturally, it's going to be a tricky one, because in a lot of you, your natural state is no maintaining eye contact at all. So learn to practice the balance. Let me put it that way. Learn to practice the balance. So it's okay to look into the person's eyes randomly. You look away, you look back, but constantly bringing in that eye contact will also help engage the mind of those you're talking to. It helps bring in their imagination to what you're saying, because the mind naturally wanders. It's just randomly thinking of a lot of things, 10,000 things at a time, going here, going there. So maintaining eye contact with the person that you're speaking to helps to bring their focus to you, helps to bring their focus to what you're saying, and then it helps to engage their imagination in what you're saying. So if you want to help people maintain their imagination, especially when you're having to give a public speech that is more personal in the sense of you're sharing a vision or things like that, it's very essential that you maintain eye contact, because this would help bring their attention to you, their thoughts to you, their mind to you, and it would help bring their imagination to what you're saying. Now we're done with all of the C's, and you have to understand that the best way to become an excellent communicator is to practice. You just listening, you just having to have listened and written down everything I've said is not going to automatically transform you into an excellent communicator. What is going to make you an excellent communicator ultimately is you practicing all of these things. And a secret to practicing that you need to know is learning to practice in front of a mirror. This is because one of the reasons why a lot of people are anxious when they have to speak in public is because you see a lot of the eyes on you. Everyone is looking at you, focused on you. And you're wondering, your mind is wondering, what are they looking at? Are they seeing my clothes is torn somewhere, or this is there thing somewhere? Why is this person looking at my shoe? What's wrong with my shoe? Right? So all of their eyes are on you, and in a way it creates a sense of judgment. You're feeling judged, and you're not seeing what they're saying. So when you're practicing, it is very important that you practice in front of a mirror, because when you're practicing in front of a mirror, you get comfortable to seeing yourself speak. You get used to seeing yourself speak. So when others are now seeing you speak and you're wondering what are they looking at, you remember what you've seen in the mirror, and you know that, okay, that is what they're seeing. As long as you went there, your hair is made, your clothes are well looking okay, they're ironed, your shoe is well polished, everything is okay, you would have no reason to be anxious by them looking at you. And this is why before any public speech, you have to make sure you control the things that you can, the things that are in your power to control. I always say this whenever I'm giving anyone a private training. You want to make sure you control the things that are within your power. And what is within your power? Your appearance. Your clothes is within your power. You can, even if you don't know fully what you have to say, you can decide what you want to wear, make it look good, and you don't have to bother about that when you're speaking. When your hair is done, if you have to chop your nails, you have to file them. Your clothing, make sure they are looking okay, not rumpled. Your shoe is okay, you know you look okay. Look in the mirror and make sure that you look okay before you go before anybody. That way, when they're looking at you, the idea of you being judged reduces, because you already know that my clothes is okay, my shoes are okay, my brooch is okay, I have everything on me looking okay. So now you can just focus on the presentation itself. But when you go there and your shoe is not looking well, or you have a cut somewhere, and then someone is looking at you and your mind is going, oh, did you notice the cut in between my trouser? Or did you notice the stain that is on my side? Or this, is that where their eyes are on? So that's why it's very essential that you fix all of those little things that you can fix. It reduces the questions, the doubt your mind is going to be raising, and it's going to also help you to be better confident, to be calmer in your own skin, and to just focus on the presentation itself. Once you've sorted that out of the way, you want to make sure that you practice in front of a mirror. And if it's going to be a really big presentation, you can even practice with the actual clothes that you're going to wear on that day. Now, don't mess it up and then you end up not being ready. If it's a day two, you're practicing a day two, no more practicing with the clothes. But if it's weeks back and you have enough time, you can even wear the clothes you want to wear on that day, and then you practice with it. That way you get comfortable seeing yourself. So when they're seeing you, you don't feel as judged, you don't feel something is wrong with you. That's why they're looking at you. You know fully well that they're looking at you because they are meant to be focused on you, since you're the one giving the speech. So learn to practice and practice in front of a mirror. And when you're done practicing in front of a mirror to the point where you're comfortable, you can then do well to practice in front of friends and family. And the idea is you practicing with as many people as you need to practice to until you're comfortable and until you feel you're good enough and you're ready for the speech. And in practicing too, one thing I just want to set out there is when you're practicing, don't only practice for a specific speech. Practice for the way you want to always present. And what I mean is that a lot of the times when people are practicing is for a speech, they're just practicing how they want to deliver that speech. No, your focus in practice should not just be for a specific speech, but it should be for the way you want to always communicate, the way you want to always speak as a public speaker or as a communicator. So you're practicing in the sense of building yourself, not just delivering a speech. Because when you're able to build yourself, even when you're called for impromptu speech, you're just called on the spot to ask a question, because you've been able to practice as a person, you've been able to build yourself as a person. Whenever you're caught off guard, you would still be able to deliver well, you'd still be able to deliver 100%, as opposed to just delivering for a speech and then you dump everything you've learned, like the usual la pour, la cram, la what, la forget. I'm sure you know it. So that's all for being an excellent speaker. That's all you need to get started to becoming an excellent communicator. And I can assure you that as you work on this, as you build yourself, you would become that person that people now use as their example when they're mentioning a good public speaker. So do well to practice it. And if you have a speech ongoing, you're preparing for a speech presentation, do well to let me know how it goes in the comment section below. And if you're not yet part of our community, what are you waiting for? Check the link in the description below to join our community today. As always, I love you and I cannot wait to see you in my next video. Do well to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Like the video, share it. You want to share the word so a lot of people who are also having this struggle would know how to deal with it, how to let go of that old self and become an excellent communicator. Bye-bye.